Hi mamas! So in the postpartum period, we tend to have a massive issue with a lot of anterior pelvic tilt. This is when your bum sticks back and your belly pulls forward. That's because of the weight of the baby pulling your belly forward. Your bum pushes back and it places a lot of additional pressure onto your hips. So we get really tight hip flexors, tight quads, and a weaker lower back because of all that additional strain. What is the best way to fix this postnatally? The best way is to create control and awareness. So firstly, you can of course stretch out your tight hip flexors and stretch out your quads. And I've got some videos on my channel to help you do that. But the main thing here is that we gain more control and more awareness. When we have control over our hips and our spine, the way it moves and grooves as we go about our day, then we're able to protect our bodies, our core, and the way that we move. We're able to feel less aches and pains, and we're able to support ourselves in motherhood and beyond. Maybe you might have another child. So we're able to support ourselves in that second or third pregnancy or whatever number you're on. So here is a way to create more awareness around your anterior pelvic tilt and how to fix it so that you come into a nice neutral posture and are able to regain control over that area. So first things first, we're going to do a nice supine pelvic tilt. So come safely down onto your mat and onto your back. Your knees are bent for this one, just for our first one. And what I want you to do is I want you to press if you've got actually an anterior pelvic tilt, you're going to have a little gap between your back and the mat. So you'll already have that gap present for you. Now what I want you to do is close the gap. So by tilting your hips under, you're going to pull your belly button as close you can as to the mat, closing that gap. And then push it back. So create the gap, anterior tilt, and push back, tucking under, closing the gap. So just continue like this, just feeling that awareness in your hips, feeling yourself close and open that gap, feeling what it feels like on your spine, on your hips. You can bring in the breath to this. So on the inhale, I want you to push your bum back. Fill your belly with air. On the exhale, close that gap up. So this is just so we can gain control, so that we can help you find what your middle ground is. Because when we go about our day and when we're standing, we don't want to be tucking under and closing that gap because that's too much. What we want to do is find a nice neutral stance. So from here, let's do the last one of closing the gap. So this is a posterior tilt. This is not what we want. Now I just want you to release into a neutral. So in the middle of that pushing back and tucking under. So try that again. Push back, create the gap. Exhale, close the gap, so tucking under. That's also a little bit extreme. Now go ahead and find that middle where you might just have a slight, very little whisper of a gap between your back and the mat. That is a neutral stance, and that's what we want as we go about our day. So secondly, let's go ahead and reach your legs out in nice extended position. You can reach your arms overhead as well. And I want you to do the same here. So push back, and here you're probably going to see your hips, your ribs flare out, and that's also not what we don't want to see. And then go ahead and exhale, bring that belly button towards the mat, pulling the ribs down towards your hips. And again, inhale, belly out. You're probably going to see your ribs flare. This is a little bit harder to control. Tuck under, ribs to hips. So really creating a nice bit of tension in your abdominals. Inhale, release. Now I want you to just add a little bit of tension, a little bit more tension in those abdominals. Exhale, pelvic floor lifts, transverse abdominis, so think about the hip to hip muscles pulling nice and tight, ribs down towards your hips. Inhale, release. Exhale. Nice tight abdominal cavity. One more here. And now that you've got that tucked under position, I want you to release it, but just into your nice neutral. Okay, let's do that one more time. So inhale, belly out, push the bum back, create that gap. Exhale, as far as you can, creating nice tension, and then find the middle. Yes, but don't lose sight of your ribs. You don't want your ribs flaring out as you go about your day. And finally, let's go ahead and roll onto our tummies. So flat on your stomach, your forehead is down to the mat. I want you to do the same again, but this time it's going to be way more difficult because you are lying on your tummy, but you're really going to feel the awareness of your muscles. So inhale, release your pelvic floor, push your bum back. Exhale, I want you to switch on your transverse abdominis, switch on your abdominals, think ribs to hips, and tuck under. Inhale, release, push the bum back. That's what we don't want, the anterior tilt. Exhale, tuck under, ribs to hips. Inhale, release. Exhale, tuck under. So really draw that belly button in, think ribs, ribs, ribs towards your hips. And now let's do it again, but this time finding your neutral stance. So inhale, anterior pelvic tilt. Exhale, posterior, where we tuck the hips under. We switch on our abdominals by reaching those ribs to your hips. And then go ahead and release into a neutral stance. Now in this neutral stance, you want your abdominals to be switched on slightly, just so that your ribs do not flare. Let's go ahead and try that again. Anterior pelvic tilt. Exhale. Ribs to hips, abdominals switch on. And then go ahead and find that 50%. And one more time. Push back. Exhale, tuck under. And release 50%. And gently come back up. So there you have it, guys. I know that exercise might feel a little strange in the beginning. You might not have that body awareness and control at the moment, but the more you practice that and the more you're able to feel your body, because every person's body is different. Then when you're actually doing movement, or you're picking up your kids or shopping, you'll be able to feel your alignment and the way that you stand. Posture and alignment is absolutely key for a beautiful, strong core, stabilized spine, and awareness of how we move our body. And it really contributes to you feeling great, upright, confident, and ready for anything. So go ahead and try that at home. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed that video, and just pop a few comments below to see if there's anything you'd want me to cover. I'll be happy to help.